Hello? Hello?
Uh, Please stand by, everyone. We're just reconnecting everyone else. Please just wait in the room. We'll be with you shortly. 3 minutes. Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Lebone.
I've been asking, well, where's Mr. B? I can hear him, but I can't see him.
I'm here. Everybody's here.
Okay, no, who else is on the line? I actually have only one screen available to me, so I can't see who else is on.
Oh, okay. So, we've got Pearl, we've got Mandla.
Yes.
We've got Pearl, we've got Mandla, we've got Mpo from Moja Love.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
All right. So we also have another gentleman, but I see he has gone away. Maybe he's gonna come back.
That's Raps, right?
That's Raps, yes.
Okay.
So I think you can take it away, sir.
Yes, tumanyiza ku 10:20.
Sorry about that.
Hello, everyone. My name is Lebona Maema, and welcome to this online panel discussion for the Rustenburg Film Festival.
Guys?
Congratulations once again to Mr. Kiamulao for launching a very successful film festival online this year. This panel is themed creating or developing a successful television series or a television format. And we've got some panelists online with us. We've got Mandla Dube as a filmmaker. We've got Raps, filmmaker. And we've also got Mpo from the beloved television channel Moja Love, as well as a representative from our national public broadcaster. Sispel, thank you very much for being part of this panel discussion. And I'll allow you just a minute or two to just introduce yourselves and the work that you do before we jump into this big theme of how we develop a television series. Mpo, do you want to kick off? Hi, Mpo, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Thank you. I was on mute there. I was
Thank
talking
you.
to myself. Thank you, everyone. Good morning to everybody. Thank you for having us and inviting us to this panel. I'm head of the Statistics Department at Mozilla. And am I going straight into the topic, or are we just introducing or going straight into what?
No, just a quick yourself, and the work that you do at Moja Lab, just to get a context so people know who we are.
Okay. So I am the head of the Statistics Department at Moja Lab. Also published, so and even though I'm head of statistics, it does not absolve me of. So I also create content for the shows and encourage to the channel. We created shows under my department of shows like Itungani Lengani, Umjeni, Umoya, The Waiting of Corner, and controversial shows. Last night we launched Moyo movie. This Sunday we are launching Erase, which is also another controversial drama scene, which is last year. And we've also had new
Sorry, Mpo, I don't know if I'm the only one that's struggling to hear you clearly. There's a bit of a line cutting off there. Is everyone able to hear Mpo properly on the line?
Yeah, she tends to be cutting off and on.
Okay, Mr. B, maybe on the back end, if you can just maybe try and assist with sorting out that audio thing, and then we can move on to Pearl, because at the end it was getting quite bad. If Aussie Pearl, please tell us your role at the national broadcaster quickly, ma'am.
I only hear you quite faintly.
Yes.
My name is Pearl Lutuli, and I am the deputy chair of 20 Media, which is a media incubation center based in Johannesburg.
Yes.
And I know you introduced me as from the public broadcaster. I used to be with a public broadcaster. I'm no longer with a public broadcaster. And
okay.
I just work with 20 Media.
20 Media. Thank you very much, ma'am. And then
Thank you.
We go back to Raps. Raps, tell us about yourself, and then Manda can tell us, and then we kick in.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for inviting me to this panel. My name is Raps. I'm executive producer at Chocolate Milk and Cookies Productions, and I work as a film director and a content producer. We've been in existence for the past 10 years, and over the past 10 years, we've managed to scoop a few awards through our content development and creativity. Thank you.
Thank you, Raps. Mandla Dube doesn't really need an introduction, but he must tell us who he is. Mandla, say a few words about yourself, please, sir. Mandla, can you hear us?
I can hear you, Lebona, yes.
Yes, I was saying, please tell us a few words about yourself, and then we can begin, sir. For those who don't know, who is Mandla?
Yeah, but sure. For some reason, the audio is intermittent. It comes and it goes. But let me give it a shot, and you can tell me whether you've heard me. Hi, my name is Mandla Dube. I'm a filmmaker. My background is cinematography, and I have now of late been doing a lot of directing. I started in music videos in the 90s in Atlanta, Georgia, and I am now back here, obviously, and I'm directing. I did a film titled Kalushi, and I work for a company, Pambili Media, and I'm working on a series now for Netflix titled Jiva, and have a feature film upcoming with the same platform titled Silverton Siege.
Thank you very much, Mandla. I think introductions are very important, and it's good that everyone is able to say from their own mouth who they are, because I think it just shows that we've got a panel here that has a vast experience from a broadcaster, a former broadcaster. I'm a former broadcaster myself in the multi-choice group at Mzansi Magic, and team, we've got a big question on our hands to try and answer for the people that are watching this webinar, the participants at the Rustenburg Film Festival. And we are to begin defining what is a successful television series. What makes a television series successful? And I think maybe just to begin, Mpo, you are in the hot seat of broadcasting at the moment. What do you consider to be successful? What are the ingredients of success? I think let's start there and maybe just give us examples, right? And let's go into genre as well, because I think we should focus on genre and really focus our discussion today around the development of fiction, right? So of television drama. In particular, around all of the formats. So if you just kick us off and tell us, what would you say are the ingredients of a television series that is successful? Are you there? Can you hear us? I think Paul seems to be gone offline. Ausbel, do you want to take that question? Paul seems to have gone offline for some reason. She's lost the signal as well.
She's coming back. There. She's there.
Back. Thank you, Paul.
Okay, thank you, Lebona. I heard your question. So I keep losing signal, and apologies for that. I think hopefully this one will be more stable. So the one thing that we have taken, being such a small business of Model Life, and what we've done is that we are such a special cooker. We're constantly learning from each and all the other shows that go on air. So if we have a show that goes on air where the ratings are quite high, we then discuss that show. We analyze the content, what that we can use and implement and further to create more content further. I mean, I remember watching an interview with someone who with the producer of this right, and he had seen content on OK Show, and that's where he got his inspiration. And there's another reality show in the US for where they come in the house with borders. This is also an episode on Oprah, and the producers of that particular show saw it as not just an episode, but something they should elaborate. And that is our strategy at Neverland. We look at what it is that's rating, why did it bring us numbers, we break it down to its simplest form, and we build it doing something that is taken from that. We also study a lot of things. We do a lot of studying of things. What is it that the black market is talking about today? What is it that achieves them at the moment? How then we once we have found and identified a topic, then we speak to the people who are in that world, we further research to understand the topic. We come through with the brain sensation, the brain sensation, and with all our shows, we have measured 5 times in top one, all the 52 shows, where we have made sure that we thoroughly understand the topic, we understand the drama and the thinking aspect. We've also made it our mission to understand what our
before I ask Auspel to come in, I really appreciate how you've mentioned all of those elements of success. But one particular question, how do you generate all of this success on the premise of who owns this particular success? Is it the success of the producers of the content, or is it the success of the channel? So when you're speaking about all of these successful programs, how do you define this success? I mean, is it success just by the mere fact that it overrates and it delivers high numbers for broadcasters? How does the value of that success, how is that value of success measured in the internal value chain between the broadcaster and the producer of that content?
So our business model is different to your traditional broadcasters in that we are a production company with a broadcaster. We produce our own content. We have the system that we have. For example, not so long ago when I was I had competition and when I was in education, I was because they learn how to educate, and that is the process that we have. This is such a small business. We encourage all the staff members to be able to understand each and every what you call the facet of the business. So even if you are 2 weeks ago, a simple example, we had an exercise with one of the team members who was taking logs to their fish. In that exercise, he understood how to fit it into the business and how the logs, the impact on time delivery of the logs, has the impact of the overall business. And then when he goes back in to work and becomes a producer, he understands how each and every small piece and each and every individual is. I mean, he left the meeting saying, "Thank you, I did not understand. My interest is taking life has such a big impact on the business." In terms of who success with it, it's a shared success between everyone in the business. One, in terms of skills and passion, I'd like to believe that the people who are going to enter and in life.
Paul, sorry to interrupt you. We seem to be having problems with your audio. Maybe try and move much closer to the phone. Maybe we can improve it that way. Is there anything maybe that is blocking the mic or something?
Yeah, because you're very clear, Mr. B, but Mpo was very faint, in fact. Yeah, but we're struggling.
Okay. How do I sound now?
Oh, yeah. Oh, my, that's super lovely. You have to start all over again, you know? Oh, man.
Okay.
No, Mr. B, you're right. We missed quite a lot on what you were saying, and I was trying to get quite a lot of important information. So, Paul, I think let's rejig the conversation a little bit and give you time to maybe just rethink this proposition, because the question would be very similar for Mepel, and maybe she can help us take the discussion forward, perhaps by really just answering what was our original question in terms of, you've mentioned a very interesting link between a producer and a broadcaster. You know, you say that you are both a producer and a broadcaster. And Mepel has just said that she's moved from being a broadcaster specifically to going into production. So while wearing your production hat, your producer hat, Mepel, how do you define success for a television series at the moment? Wow. And now we seem to have lost Pearl seems to be offline.
I am in. The host must put me in.
Hello, yes. Okay, no, that's good. No,
Can you
Pearl,
hear
I
me
was just
now?
saying that Mpo mentioned quite a lot of important
Yes.
elements in what she wrote. Sorry?
Okay.
Can you hear
Hello?
us, Mapel?
I can hear you, yes.
Yes.
The
You're,
line keeps
you're
coming and
asking why we
going.
were at the. Yeah, no, I think there's a
Let me
technical
just come in.
challenge.
Let
Again.
me just come in.
But
I just want to say something that's going on. Please,
Yeah,
there is load shedding going on all over the country. So sometimes someone might be off and then they have to come back in. So please let us be patient there. But I
yeah.
think this is caused by load shedding because then the radio base stations in your area sometimes cut off and then you jump out and then we have to put you in. So yeah, let's just be patient. Thank you so much. Eh?
If I
no,
may
no
say
problem.
this, the sound is also quite bad from Libone.
Is it?
I
Maybe
can
from.
hardly hear you.
Okay, I'll try and move closer to the mic. And is that
Yeah,
That's
better?
better,
Can
much
you hear us
better.
now?
that's better. If you've got earphones, it's even much easier.
Yeah, it's
But
better to
yeah,
use earphones. Mm.
thank you so much.
All right. I've left my earphones in way forward in the other room. So let's start then afresh. Mepel, I think we were trying to whittle down some of the elements that Mpo had mentioned in
Yeah,
saying how from both a producer and a broadcaster perspective, when they assess projects, they say from inception all the way to the issue of how that program rates on the television, elements of production quality, saying this is what for her makes a successful television series. And I was saying, would you be able to give us from your perspective while at the SABC and now at a production company, an incubator, in fact, what do you look for when you want to develop a successful television series?
Uh, okay, thanks. Paul has mentioned quite a lot that applies to broadcasters under general, but you've mentioned the broadcaster and the producer, and I think the other very important element is the viewer. Who is your target market? And because that whatever you produce has to appeal to the target market. It has to be entertaining. It has to be in SABC, for instance, we were always about it has to be educational, it has to be informative, besides being entertaining. And the other part is about being responsible. When you put together something, it should not be only about entertainment, but you have to be responsible. For instance, we have ICASA rules, we have the Broadcast Complaints Commission, and so on. So you have to make sure that you have covered all of those elements of being a responsible producer or broadcaster. And so for me, the partnership is for a successful um, production is more about the partnership between the producer, the broadcaster, and the viewer, because the viewer must is the one that determines what if it is really appealing and it should receive the ratings that the production should get.
No, thank you very much, Mepel, for that. And I think I'd like to bring in Raps into the discussion right now. Raps as a independent producer himself, and I think Raps, look at it this way. I am a young female filmmaker sitting in Rustenburg at the moment, and I'm listening to this discussion, and I'm saying, what are the steps that I should take if I want to end up being where Raps is, where he is able to interact with broadcasters to present what he believes will be successful television series. What has been your experience in developing television series as a producer by Raps?
Thank you, man, Libona. I think first things first, if you want to get into this space of the creative, I think the most important thing that you must have is the passion for the job. Otherwise, if you're in it for the money or for the fame or for the whatever, you might not have a long stay. So gotta be passionate, you gotta be vigorous, you gotta be hungry enough to want to produce high level content. Um, but also, I think you need to come up with a concept that's a riveting that will capture the audience. As Mepel had said, making films or making TV, it's a big collaborative effort. You have the broadcaster on the top end, you have the producer, and then you have your viewers at the end. But beyond that, there's a crew and there's cast. So it's a huge collaborative effort. So you need to take all of those into consideration and keep the passion going. And as an up and coming filmmaker, I think most what we do or we tend to do is want to work in a silo. Go out there, consult, ask questions, try and speak to other people that have gone this road and get tips so that you sharpen up yourself, you sharpen up your skills, and make sure that whatever you're going to put out there is in par with what could be the standard of what the broadcaster is looking for. Over and above that, I think it is very important.
Raps, because I think you are raising a particularly important question, and I want to segue back to Mpo. Mpo, like literally, if you were to take a young filmmaker, right, we would need to speak to the details about what genre of television format we are speaking in particular. In your introduction, you mentioned multiple names and various shows that you are responsible for that work across multiple genres, be it reality, be it drama, be it some sort of a game show, or be it even documentary. How do you go through the process, I think, of helping someone that is coming in new and fresh to zoom in on format? What are those processes? Because I think what Raps is saying is, there's very important information that people understand about different kinds of television formats before they approach either a broadcaster or a producer. So if you can just take us through just some of those principles, Mpo.
I'm glad you asked, excuse me. I'm glad you asked this question, Lebone, because to us, if you were to come to walk into the business world pre-COVID, you would see a lot of new young faces. Most of them, this is their first or their second job in the industry, either starting out as a researcher. And I'd like to tell you about Julia, who was who produced our if you look at the ratings for DSTV top 30 shows, I think for the month of May, the second most watched show that month was Umdeni, and it was produced by Julia, who has 1 or 2 years experience in the industry. And how I met Julia, I was going on leave on a Wednesday. I mean on Friday. I met her on a Wednesday. She had just come from interning at a radio station. And what I said to her was, okay, Julia, Friday, because I'm not around, I need the team to shoot. By Friday, if you come back with 3 stories that you will be able to shoot, and the team is able to work with you on the concept and develop it, you have the job. Within the same, a few hours later, I interviewed someone with experience in the industry. And I'd say to them, and I gave them the same task to say, instead of us waiting for you to start on Friday, can we use your interview as your employment? And if you're able to find stories by Friday, we will consider this day of your interview your day of employment.
Well, this is fascinating. This is like live action development. This is not normal. No, I want to tell
it's not.
What Mpo is talking about is not normal. Okay.
Correct. It's not. But I'd like to build on what Raps is saying about new talent and the beauty of this. And the person who had years of experience said, "I wahlanya. You know how hard it is. I'm going to go on the internet. I'm going to make calls. People are going to drop me. Da, da, da. Julia Machete said, "Thank you. I'm taking on the challenge." On Friday morning, Julia came with 3 stories, all solid, all confirmed characters that we could shoot. This would be her first job as a researcher, but we gave her guidelines on how you go out to find a story. This is the research pack, and these. So with the research pack, we carefully curate the stakes on how to find a story. Does it have drama? Does it have polar opposites? The story that you're going to go. Are the people going to be at loggerheads? Is there a strong resolution? Um, is there something to gain and to learn for our presenter and us as the viewers? In as much as though we're getting entertained, will there be, because we do not want to come in and be seen to be making fun of, so it's also a delicate balance between entertainment and responsible broadcasting. So how do you become extremely entertaining but be responsible? So Julia learned this. And over the years, the one story that everyone talks about when they talk about Utano Nokolo is the one where the man says to the wife, "Jump on top of the car and scream, tell the neighbors that I cheated," you know? And when that show rated, hence we got braver to go Oyajola route, because we realized that, oh, look, these are the key learnings we got from this episode. It was high rating. This is how we managed to get the participants to collaborate. So let's take these key learnings and let's now go on into Oyajola and see what we can implement in Oyajola for us to be able to put the show on air and be within
just,
broadcasting.
just come in there and I think to bring in Mandla, because I think what you're saying is very linked to where Mandla's space of working is, right? Because what you've said is that Moja Love came into the game and shifted the goalposts completely. You've given examples of how, one, your primary focus on genre has been on the docu-reality format, on what, elements of Big Shock TV that came from other international, learnings, and that began to work in South Africa. So that is what has worked particularly for Moja Love in terms of television formats. But for you, Mandla, if I can ask a question, how has your interaction been? You're a film producer director now, but as a DOP, you've also worked across multiple drama series, right? Worked in other formats, and for Mepel as well. The same dynamics that would make Moja Love, make decisions about what kind of formats are going to work for them. You would not be applying the same formula in a public broadcaster. So if the two of you, and I think maybe just starting off with Mandla, can just share your experiences based on, I think Mpo gave examples of what we are not used to happening in terms of the way that we define how a concept will be developed and how it ends up successful. What has been your experience, Mandla? You're on mute, sir. Mandla, you're on mute.
Yeah, I'm saying this is so timely. I couldn't hear everybody. I'm just been having challenges with audio here. But anyway, my experience has been that the higher the concept, it is, the more you are likely to be able to wow whoever is your broadcaster, whoever is your producer, or whoever it is that you're working with. Sometimes, unfortunately, some of the content that we conceptualize is just way outside of the threshold of what could be afforded from a standpoint of budget, or sometimes it could be that the ideology of the people who are the commissioning editors or the broadcasters is just not in sync with where you are as the filmmaker or the creative, and that can be frustrating. But I think, yeah, I think it all sometimes we frustrate ourselves as filmmakers because we are not in line with what the broadcaster's strategy is, you know, and then that's just a hard fact. And sometimes you just have to find a way of saying, listen, strategically as a production company, I'm gonna do something that they like, so that I can be able to get in bed with them, and then once once I'm in there, I've got my foot in there, I can be able to do that really, really project that I've always wanted to do. And sometimes it's just what Paul has just said, just talent. People just have this talent.
Yeah.
They can just
Great talent.
rock up and they do something, and it's like, yeah. And the most important thing I say, it's always to surround yourself with young people because young people have fresh ideas. I always ask my sons at home, what do you guys think if I do this? And some of those ideas that are in films that one is doing, they came from right at home, from asking my son or Wame or Kaya, Luyanda, Nkosina, Theo Solazi. I just asked them, like, what do you guys think? and
They're your
and
audience,
they
right?
yeah, because they are the audience and they watch TV religiously, and
So
and they'll
I
tell you,
think
they'll be like, "Mina."
Manda, just on that note, let me ask Mepel, right, and ask a question from an audience perspective, and say,
Yeah.
what do audiences, from your experience, what genres specifically would you say that work best for South African audiences, and why would you say that? What would you say this is the quintessential South African genre that works, or the format that we say this is the successful South African format?
I think things keep changing in broadcasting the world over. There was a time that we would not even look at reality, and
Yes.
right now reality has become king in broadcasting. And so I really believe that it is about having your ear on the ground, being aware of what is going on around yourself in the industry, but also in the communities that you live in. So you are able to find that different storyline that you can explore. And it is also about the broadcasters themselves. And I like what Paul said, and gave the example of Julia and everybody else. Not many people who have the responsibility of deciding which productions have to be on air have that talent. I must congratulate you, Mpo, to be able to make a person stretch the envelope, stretch their mind, and help them find the passion within themselves is key, And I think I think it's Raps who said you have to be passionate. For anybody to bring out the best in anything, they have to be passionate about it. For example, soaps in our country. I've looked at the different soaps that we have on ETV, SABC, and so on, and I find the one person who keeps intriguing me. Who I know them quite well, but because I grew up with them, Dumandlovu. Dumandlovu had decided on a specific kind of topic in all of his soaps. It's about culture. It's about teaching people about what goes on around our cultures through Mubango and now through Imbewu, And the other day, I spent actually the whole day watching Imbewu on View, and I literally sent him a note. I have not had a drama series that keeps me so engrossed. I watched the whole thing. I'm sure it was a whole month of the series, and every time I looked at it, it was quite intriguing. Yeah.
And we're binging on an interesting format
Oh,
that is
this the lie.
Can you hear me? Is that better? I was saying
That's better.
I was saying that what you are saying
Yeah,
is
much
very
better.
interesting. As you are taking us through different kinds of genres and formats, and I think I'd like to bring raps into the discussion by saying, from a person that is listening to us speaking right now and trying to understand, how do I begin? Like I was saying, like from just the process. We've spoken about everything else, about passion, about my point is that this is a job. This is you need some sort of training to be able to do this. It's not like walking from the street and saying, I'm going to have a television format. And there are processes that you need to go through. You need to have the understanding of, from people like Ntate Dumagandlovu's level of success with producing drama series, there's a lot of training that has gone into himself and the people that he works with. So the principle of saying, how do you develop a successful television series, starts off with understanding what kind of a show you want to produce. Because from Mpo's perspective, they are looking for specific kinds of shows, for reality shows, for a particular market. And then you spoke about the example of specifically long-running series, drama, telenovela, and soapy. So raps in your space with that understanding of the various genres. I'd like you to just bring us into the discussion of how you make sure that you own your intellectual property when you are developing these series. What is the process that you go through to retain the ownership of your idea, and in negotiating that space with the people that you are sharing your idea with?
It always had been a very difficult milestone to retain intellectual property, especially if you are dealing with broadcasters, especially if you are getting commissioned. So the one thing, if you're trying to retain your intellectual property, for me, is when you go to a broadcaster with something on hand, whether it's a sponsor, whether it's a distribution a channel elsewhere. But if you're going to go there and want them to commission you 100%, you must know that you will lose your intellectual property. So the idea is, do your groundwork and do it so well that you are in a position to go out there and say, can we do a co-production with the broad? Can we do a pre-sale? There are a lot of funding bodies out there that can support you, that you can apply, so that you don't arrive with your empty hands begging. Rather go in there and try and negotiate a partnership than rather going there to beg for a commission. So that's the only way for me. I think you can.
Let's continue on answering that question. My brother, I think the important question here is, let's be realistic about the way that television works in South Africa. Whoever pays owns the content, right? So it's about being able to ring fence a initial amount of money or initial amount of talent to be able to develop the concept up to a process where you are able to then take it to whoever it is that will be paying for you to produce that particular kind of content. I think I like the example of Julia that Mpo made, because literally what Julia was able to do was a very talented person that was able to go into a space that was able to then finance her idea. Mpo, what would your comment be before Raps concludes his point, just on that note, around how you would tell the journey of Julia and her intellectual property and the development of that intellectual property, and who ends up owning it at the moment? So if I want to be the next Julia, but I want to retain my idea, I don't want anyone else to own my idea, what would your advice be?
Oh, I love one. Well, when she came on for Umdeni, the second season, which she produced, I had,
Don't have
she was coming on
conceptual
for the
details.
second
I'll ask
season.
you
The
a
first
technical question.
season,
But a simple one too.
okay, so the IP question, I think if we look at, I think I'd like to leave it up to what do you call this, how it's regulated at the moment, what's within the laws of the country, and the laws are the one who pays for the content is the one who owns it, and we need to separate. I mean, because now it's a business transaction. You're walking into into a negotiated, contracted space. You're asking someone to put money into your idea. You know, you have an idea, you're selling it to the person. They're going to invest way more, and it's not just the money for the developing. It's money for distribution, money for marketing. So am I coming to, it's a contract, it's a negotiated contract which have specific laws that govern that contract, and I'd like to leave it there, the context of IP.
Thing for anyone that is listening and watching now, the principle is that you need to be aware of the nature of business that you are going into.
Correct.
In the case where you are going in and you are going in to share your intellectual property in perpetuity, be aware that that is the way that is going to work. Otherwise, you are going to end up in Sunday world fighting and suing each other. I think that's the discussion that I was trying to highlight. Manda, what's your take on that space of intellectual property ownership? Literally, my brother, not for necessarily experienced producers, but even for somebody that is coming in fresh into the industry. You want to create a successful television format, but you want to try and own it. What advice?
Certain level. Yeah, I guess all of this has certain levels, and I think the best right now. Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, you cut off a bit, Manda, but we can hear you now.
He's gone.
He's gone. Okay, Mepel, you can come in while his line is coming back.
You can hear me. Okay, I'll just continue.
Manda, your line is really bad, so maybe Mepel can continue while we are sorting it out, and then you can come in. So, Mepel, please continue.
Okay. I think while we are talking about commissioning, one has, especially for young people, they have to understand all the pitfalls that they have to face. You know, for instance, I know for a fact that when I was still struggling, trying to get my ideas sold or taken by somebody, you'd write your proposal, send it off to a broadcaster or whoever is responsible, and the next thing you see your idea on television. They have not come back to you, but somebody else has that. One has to protect themselves from the beginning. Besides the fact that once you get commissioned, the broadcaster owns it. But the thing is, for the broadcaster to give you the credit that you deserve, you need to protect yourself from there too. You know, so simple things like the documents that you send in, make sure that you have a copyright of the document, for instance. And so yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just want to finish the point there.
Come in, Manda.
Some technical challenges here. I just want to be able to make it right now. Currently, what's happening? We are all rushing towards the global streaming platform that I won't mention their name. Everybody, all of us are just rushing to it. Why? Because there seem to be the global reach that they are giving is it's unprecedented. We've never seen, especially from Africa here, we haven't seen our content reach so many audiences, right? And it's great. But know that you are entering a space where you are going to be relinquishing your IP into perpetuity, and you're going to be getting, it's a trade-off. You're going to be getting this large audience. You're going to be getting this, budget that you've never worked with before, which is exciting. And you negotiate, and which is what we did. We go in and say, okay, listen, you can have it. It's fine. It belongs to you. This is the budget we want to do. And they were like, okay, it's fine. And by their standards, it's not a whole lot, but it's still a lot. And then the next thing that we did in the negotiation was that, listen, you can have this, have this. This is yours. You can have it, but where we ultimately want to be able to go is these next 3-4 pictures. In those next 3-4 pictures we're going to be doing with you, we want to be able to take ownership of that IP. And then the head of legal was like, all right, that sounds like a fair trade. Give us this in the next one that you're going to be doing. And obviously, you don't give them your best juicy stuff, right? You say, okay,
Are you
you say,
selling
okay,
that?
you can have this. Yeah, you say you can have this. You can have this. It's great. Everybody loves it. Story is wonderful and all, and it's a passion project. But really, 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 where one wants to be on a global stage, to be making films that are being made, and taking African standard of filmmaking to where you can be able to say, yeah, that's great. That comes out of Africa. You don't let go of that IP. It's gotta stay home.
No,
It's so important that that IP stays home. So
I think,
it's strategic. We gotta be strategic.
Manda, I really appreciate what you have just said, my brother. And I think all of us here would agree with you to say that, there's various ways of answering this very big question that
Yeah,
Kia put to us from the Rustenburg Film Festival to say, what are the elements of developing a successful television series? But for me, I think that
sure.
the most successful thing about any industry is an industry that is able to sustain the people that participate in it, for them to be able to create more jobs, for them to be able to take care of themselves, their families, for a very long time. And the way that our industry has been structured in South Africa for a very long time is exactly in the opposite. We've been living in
Yeah.
a broadcaster-centric industry where whoever pays owns. And I think that it is high time, Mandla, that those kinds of negotiations that you are speaking about but really happen across multiple levels. And I'm glad to see that anyone that is starting out there right now needs to know that there are a lot of people that have walked this path and have already paid with their lives and their blood to be able to clear this path towards this producer-centric industry, where we are trying to change the laws in parliament, where we are negotiating, as you say, Mandla, with local players, with international players, to change the terms of engagement in
Yeah.
the contract, right?
Yeah.
So for Mepel, I think you've had the experience of being inside and being in the process of trying to retain the rights on behalf of the broadcaster, and now being outside, trying to then generate and own those rights for yourself. Let's focus on specifically, this is a film festival that is taking place in the Northwest province. And in the last 10 minutes of this session that we have, I asked Bekia what he wants to achieve out of this session. And he said to me, how can you help to develop a successful television format? How do you come out of this session with answers to what? How can we come up with the first television drama series that is produced in the Northwest? If your session, out of all of the other sessions that you've had in the festival, is not a talk show, like all of the festivals that we go to and we talk and we talk and we talk, but nothing actually really comes out except the learnings for the viewers. He asked me to say, out of your workshop, with the people that you've got on the table. Ask them, what would be the process for saying, we would like to, by the time that we come back to Rustenburg next year, have have developed a successful television series from the Northwest, a drama series in particular. I throw it to you as a panel, and maybe I will throw it to, Mepel, start us off, because I think that's the challenge that we are faced with. Provincial development of successful television series.
I think, like I said before, it's very important to understand your surroundings. What is it that you want to show, or you want people to know about the Northwest? And there's just so much that could be riveting drama or reality about the Northwest. Starting from, now I'm giving out ideas.
Tell them.
Now I'm sitting here thinking, I have to protect it, but I think it has to come out. Northwest was the first area in our country that showed us how to do television, exciting local and new kind of formats on radio and television. You look at the rest of the radio, the urban radio that we have in the country. The format started in the Northwest. If you talk about people like Bob Mabena, who just passed, and there's a story, Bob Mabena. There's a lot of stories that you can give out from the
story of the move from Buputatswana to South Africa, the story of and Bahuruti, and the fight for
lots
in stories. Mepel, thank you so much. We've literally got 5 minutes left, and I want to bring Mpo and Raps, then close off Mandla. Mpo, I think this has been a fascinating discussion, and I'd like you to zoom in specifically, I think, on what Mepel was beginning to speak to, the provincial strategies.
I'd like to go straight to creating compelling content. And this is what we have learned. Do not try to cater to who you are not. Understand your audience. They tell you every day who they are. They show you every day who they are. If for example, and this is what Netflix did, and this is what we also do. You can set your Google, your YouTube, your Twitter to show you trends of where you are locally. What are the conversations that are being had by the people in your area? That already shows you the mind space and the kind of content that your viewers are into. Mm-hmm. It already guides you to say, that's the kind of content I would like to do. When the first pastor was on OPW, and he was saying that he's in a blended relationship. It's him as the man, and he had 2 or 3 gay lovers. It's not a polygamy, but he's a man with multiple men lovers. Seeing the reaction from the viewers, hearing the questions that they asked, already indicated that this is a topic that has never been touched, that has never been spoken of. But when you go into the world of Busango Madinyanga, to them it's normal. But when you look at the broader majority, to them it's something new, it's something fascinating, it's content they want to consume. They want someone to bring this to them. If you go into Pretoria, Durban, you will see that, we had Grom come from Durban. This is something they created for themselves. It's quite rare to go into Durban and hear a lot of R&B being played. The people are already telling you and showing you who we are. This is what we enjoy. So how do you take that and produce it for them. So I was making a few pointers as well. And then the one other thing that I used to do when I was producing and still do now is that any idea that we have, we immediately put it into research, and we have specific people who we target who are a reflection of our target audience, and then we bounce the idea at them. When we see them bite, when we see them having more questions, wanting to know more, we already know that we're on the money. We already know that this is a show that we can invest in. And if the conversation continues for over 2 hours with them, and they just and they're still as amused, we know that we have a hit series on our hands. And then the last one, oh yeah, so I've touched on it. Understand your target market. Always test your content before you go and you pitch. Find out that the people that that the people who you're practicing on should be a reflective of the broadcaster's target market, because that will indicate to you if you're on the right track or not. Be and the one other thing that I love working with researchers who do not have cars. I love working with researchers who use taxis to get to work. Those are the people who hear majority conversations from the time that they leave home. When they're in the taxi, they're hearing so much more of the conversations. Yeah. Mandla is
You're very
there.
Yeah, no,
unfortunate.
no, it's because
Mr. B, you are listening to us.
I
Mr. B,
want
tell me how much time we have, because you wanted us to
I
knock off
want
at
post
quarter
details.
past, please.
Okay.
I really
So
said,
in terms of time, Levone, the session was scheduled up to 1 p.m. But if we can do it earlier, then we can always
oh,
open up for questions.
he has
Yeah.
been saying.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, let's keep talking.
Okay, so I think in terms of the session, my brother, that the panel, we've really shared, our passion for this business. We've shared our experiences. I really thank everyone that's been sharing their experiences. But the pledge, I think, to Kia in particular, is to say Kia is, pioneering and following in the steps of, where more raps want to get to in terms of positioning the Northwest as a content creator and not as a consumer of content. So the challenge that is being put to all of us as content creators right now is how many hours of this successful television format are going to come back to the next festival with, having been produced that content in the Northwest province. And I think you can let me know, Mr. B, if there are any particular questions that you'd like us to answer. But yeah, then on that view, then we can just do closing remarks.
Oh, okay. I was saying the session was scheduled to go up until 1 p.m., Lebone. But if you want to end it earlier, then we need to open questions maybe for about 30 minutes.
Do not end it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Before you go into questions, sorry,
Unless
Mr.
people
B and
so much.
Lebon, can I maybe make a quick sum up of something?
So on for a while.
Sorry, you're cutting. I can't hear you.
Yeah, well, then continue, because I'm good on that. Mr. B, you said
Yes.
that
Yes, we've got up until 1 p.m., Lebone. Um, I think we're having some connection issues with Lebone. We'll give him some time to come back, sort himself out. But if we are all good, we have got up until 1 p.m. So at this point, maybe let me just give everyone a 4-minute break, a comfort break. Maybe those that want to just visit the loo, just 4 minutes, while also Lebone fixes himself up, and then we'll be back. Is that fine?
If I may say something,
Yes, ma'am.
not with me. Kia, I will not be able to come back. I've enjoyed it, but as you know, I had to move a meeting in order to be in here. So I have to go to my next meeting.
Okay, no problem, ma'am. Thank you so much. Everybody else, just
Did you hear
4
me?
minutes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, we heard you, Mama.
Hello? Okay.
We can.
Thank you. Thank you, lady and gentlemen. I will be in touch with you guys, all of you. You were quite interesting. Thanks.
Thank you
And
very much.
bye.
Thank you so much. So Lebone,
I don't hear
just
her.
when.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I don't hear her.
Lebone,
Yes,
while you
sir.
were away,
Let
while you were away, Lebone, we just said we're gonna take a 4-minute comfort break. People to go to the toilet, stretch a bit. While
Can
we
I
see
can I
Usi's
speak?
spell, while we see Usi's spell on her way out. Thank you so much, Sispel.
You're welcome.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. B. Mr. B.
There we go. We're back up, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. Okay, no, thank you very much for bringing us back online, Mr. B. Just to clarify, Mr. B, my understanding is that our discussion is actually scheduled to end now after we take a few questions that you've got. And then Kia is going to continue with the session until 1 in Rustenburg. The online session is the one that was due to end after an hour, but there is a continuation in Rustenburg. That's what I understand.
Yes, sir. I think we can do that. Let's just open for questions.
Yes, so I think hit us with the questions, and then we will then go into the and ask the panelists that are still online to help us to answer those questions.
All right, cool. So let's just have the final thoughts on the previous previous elements, while we open up for the questions. Okay.
Okay, happy to do that, sir. Okay, so I think maybe just to continue then on that same score, we've got the WhatsApp line to send the questions 067 872 4042 067 872 4052. So while the questions are still coming in, I'm going to then segue to you, Tate Mandla. You were completing a thought around how we're going to make sure that we come back next year with formats in the Northwest. So maybe share your thoughts. You are in the Northwest at the moment, right? Mandla, unmute yourself. Mandla? Can you hear Mandla? I can't hear you
No,
either.
No, I was on mute. Mandla, are you on mute?
No, I think while he sorts himself out and Mr. B will send us the questions, I'd like to thank you really for sharing all of the information that you've shared, and to really ask you, what is the provincial strategy, your content at the moment, how would you define the provincial split at the moment on the content that you are receiving?
Our largest viewership is KZN, closely followed by Gauteng, very, very close. It's split across the nation. And I think if you can also look at the sales for the, because we're on a satellite, what do you call this?
Platform?
On a satellite platform, thank you. So our ratings will also closely relate to the sales of the satellite itself. But we attract a lot of Nguni viewers. SABC One attracts a lot of Nguni viewers. So and then you also look at patterns and trends of viewership, which is then followed by the Sutu. I did not have a look at what you call this, our viewership pattern, but our viewership pattern, our audience is very similar to SABC One.
Okay. No, I think it's very important, and I'm zooming in on the Northwest because this is a Northwest Film Festival.
Sure.
It's very telling, and I'll highlight a provincial, a national report that came out in 2017 from the NFVF that was speaking specifically to the contribution of the film and television industry to provincial economies, and the fact that 80% of the work for film and television happens in only 3 provinces. And the provinces that include the Northwest, Mpumalanga, the Eastern Cape, as well as the Northern Cape. actually produce little to no content. So I think it is our challenge in trying to tell those stories, to try and say it's not necessarily, and you'll forgive me because I was part of an era where it was intentional, this creation of Intoni, Isbanibani. It didn't exist, right? It came in a certain period of South African television, and it was intentional by broadcasters. So, Mandla, how do we change
Sorry, Lubane.
content in other
Sorry, Lubane. Just can I quickly add on to what you're saying there in terms of provinces? All the shows that have ranked and have done very well on our channel, whether it be episodics. I mean, Umdeni, we were in Mpumalanga. We were in Mpumalanga for that. The episodes where we always leave Gauteng and we go outside of Gauteng for content, those are our highest rated. Isengani, which was KZN, also brought in a lot of numbers. So you're very right in asking the question about regions, and it's something that we're also deliberate about. I mean, we're looking at bringing in more reality shows, and we're looking at which provinces to target, because content outside of just Gauteng rates.
100%. I think, Mandla, please come in, sir, with your final comments on this particular matter. But while Mandla is answering, Mpo, I'm going to ask you to think about the first question that we received from Oakheng. And the question is, how can one find out about the broadcaster's core strategy, right? How does one find out about the broadcaster's core strategy to produce content that is aligned to theirs? So, Mpo, while you're thinking about that question, Mandla, I think just your closing comments on this provincial strategy that we are trying to get to for the Northwest.
Thanks, Lebone. I had been talking to exactly what Mpo was talking about, people who are organic researchers, people that are in their communities who can be able to cascade content into a central point, and that being the Rustenburg Film Festival. And stories that could be gathered and taken into consideration. And if the tourism board of the Northwest can be able to partner with the arts and culture section in creating a film tourism, or I even call it cinema tourism. There's a concept document that I have called cinema tourism. And cinema tourism talks to the whole thing of how you take the heritage of the place and translate it into motion picture, whether it's television series, whether it's for the big screen, right? And ho na le ditori tse ngata mo Northwest mo, you know, tse ngata tse dintsi fela di you know, o ka se di fetse.
Di emetse rona.
A go dira
We must come and tell those stories. Northwest to build the resources to tell those stories, to go and dig into that amazing history that Mapele was speaking about, of broadcasting, of storytelling in the Northwest province, that just needs to be translated into minutes of television content, and maybe not even just television content. There are platforms right now like YouTube, there's alternative platforms that people are creating to be able to showcase that content. So it's no longer just about being dependent on a particular broadcaster, right?
No.
Welcome back.
No, sorry, I just want to finish this point. With this province that we are on being the pioneer, and as far as broadcasting is concerned, you can even leverage on that. You can leverage on that to be able to say, you know, you can leverage on that. I mean, Lion King, the score for the Lion King was recorded at Bob Studios in Mafike. Like, people don't know that. Both never record Bob Studios. So you can be able to leverage on that But the province is going to have to, the government of this area is going to have to pump money into that. The audience is not only in Northwest, but le ka mo Botswana ka fa ke audience e leng hore e bua Setswana le yona ba ka tseya content e tswang from the
Global
region.
stories.
But, yeah, I'll stop there. Le northern.
No, Northern Cape, Kastswana, but not necessarily. It's not an issue of language, Manda. You got cut off there a bit when you were beginning to conclude to say that it's not about just content in Setswana, but it's about creating content in Setswana that can travel globally. I want us to give concrete examples before Mpo answers the question about how do you find out about the broadcaster's strategy, and to bring Rabs back in and to say television drama is the new frontier. The facilitator of this discussion sitting behind in the technical booth, Mr. B, I regard as a hero in South African rights ownership, Mpo, because you at Moja Love are the ones that, there he is, you are the ones that licensed a television series, the first of its kind, produced independently, shot in Botswana, broadcast successfully in Botswana and in South Africa. I've been having discussions with several drama producers, some of them producing most anticipated series, global series at the moment. And their message is to say, we need to somewhere find a way to retain our ownership of the drama series that we create. Raps, how do we begin going into the Northwest and developing these particular programs? We've got all of the elements that I think in this discussion we've spoken about. Mr. B has himself like literally lit the torch and is running with it in terms of this independent drama production space. Mpo, as a broadcaster that was pioneering to actually buy that piece of content, I congratulate you as well. So I think let us zoom in on that particular question and then answer the question from the public viewer about how to find a strategy for broadcasters. So what are the next steps? How do we begin practically working with all of these partners to be able to produce fiction in the Northwest? Raps?
Thank you, Libone. I'm from the Northwest myself, Kimfano Kobudibe. And I've been trying to create content or to shoot content go Northwest. And Mandla is very talking the truth by saying the government of the Northwest needs to come on board. You know, Libone, we've tried to reach out with development programs to try and ignite the youth and create platforms for them, for the up and coming producers, writers, directors, and the crew in general, to try and give them skills to upscale themselves and be industry ready. You know, everyone knows that Northwest is the cradle of filmmaking and radio. Unfortunately, they have gone into a slumber for a while, and I'm glad people like Bokia are pioneering such events to make sure that, you know, the light still shines at the end of the tunnel. But it really, the onus is up to the Northwest government to revisit themselves and figure out what it is that they can do to upbring the film space and the radio space and make it shine again. Because the broadcasters can come in and play a role, but if the government does not instill that and help the kids to really gear up and get the necessary skills to be industry ready and to produce high-end products, then we're going to have a very long conversation for a very long time. As I said, I'm from the Northwest and I've been struggling too. And it's not even about trying to get a tender to do this or that. It's really about how do we give back? How do we start talking to the kids on the ground and saying, this is what you can do. You can get here by following 1, 2, and 3. Earlier on, we were talking about what do you need to know for you to be industry legible, to be whether you're a producer or you're a writer. There's certain elements that you need to understand for you to be ready to engage with broadcasters. And it's people like you, Mandla, Brabi, you yourself, Libone, that we can get into such spaces and really try and help those kids. But we do need the backup of the local government for us to really ignite that fire and keep it burning, and leave
No, I
it
think
for them to keep it burning.
it's been a long journey that we've walked to get to this particular point, and I think it's not just about government. We've tried to work with the Northwest government, and I think Kia has successfully, made us get to this particular point of the discussion, and we really appreciate that. We hope that they hear us and they listen to us, because I think I'll just give an example. In the Eastern Cape, the Department of Economic Development and the Department of Arts and Culture collaborated and launched this Buyele Kaya program, right? Buyele Kaya's main essence as a program was to say there has been an outward flow of talent out of the province. How do we make, and that talent, when it gets to Gauteng or to KZN, actually becomes the national icons. How do we bring back that talent into the province? And those kinds of incubation programs, and I think that's why Kia had put on MEPEL on part of this panel. It's about saying we need to get to develop those kinds of incubation panels. We had developed programs to say, if Mr. B's first film, and it's very strange, the reason why I have to rush is because I'm participating in the 48-hour film program this week, and at 6 o'clock today, we need to start prepping. Mr. B started with the 48-hour film project producing 5 minutes. I bought Mr. B's first feature film for around 60,000 Rand, and he had made it for 100,000 Rand. To date, what happened to that influx of people that were trying to produce the Mr. B's of the Northwest? That's who we need to create. We need to bring people that have moved out of the Northwest back into the province to create that content. People like Raps, people like Katlego Danke. There's lots of them that are successes in the industry. Mpo, in closing the discussion, please do answer 2 questions. How does one find out about the broadcaster's strategy? And how do they submit programs in Setswana to Moja Love? And then on that note, I'm going to ask Mandla and Raps to give us their closing comments after you answer that question, and give your closing comments as well.
The first question regarding broadcasters and how do you ensure that what you have is in line with what they want. So it's a 2-pronged answer, because I always like to believe that there's not always just one way of looking at things. One, the broadcaster will tell you what they want. They will put it on, for example, with SABC1, they will tell you they're regulated by ICASA, and therefore they have to deliver on a specific mandate when it comes to education. So, and then because there are three different regulated broadcasting business models. There's the SABC, which is a parastatal. There is ETV, which is commercial, and then satellite. And all these 3 have different regulations and different business models. Even on satellites, you will find different, broadcasters with different mandate. So when you go to a broadcaster, you need to understand how they've positioned themselves. And it's very easy. You just look at the content. The content tells you if they're entertainment, if they're news. You can already start deriving from that. 2, for an entertainment channel such as Moja Love, we are pure entertainment. We're entertainment through and through. You don't have to wait for us to say we're looking for a show about ghosts. Maybe we're all at Motor Love, the all management there, but we have not yet thought about ghosts because that is not where we are yet at the moment. And you have this idea about ghosts, and it's great. Then come through. You don't have to wait for us to say, this is the idea we're looking for. And that's the beauty of us at Mojo Lab. We have a website, sorry, an email address, info at siyayatv.com. I'll repeat it, info at siyayatv.com. And at the on this email, people sent their unsolicited ideas, because we never send out a brief anyway. In order to protect people and to make, because this is a very sensitive topic that was touched on a bit, and I wanted to address it. People do send us ideas that are similar. So before we even read any concepts, we make people aware that based on our business strategy. So for example, we already spoke about Sofa Slahlane giving birth to Umdeni, Utano Nokolo giving birth to what do you call, Mama Zala and Oyajola 99. So all our shows that go on, we're already always studying what we are going to do to take from there, and we've to create a new show that has going to be a talkability. And we make sure that whenever we have these conversations in the business, we send it on email immediately. Because when people send ideas and we let them know that we're either, one, the business is either in the process of creating a similar concept, we're either in production, or we either have someone pitched and it's parked and we're going to shoot it later. If you're comfortable knowing this and sending us your idea, please do, and then we will read it. What we've also done is that when people send us ideas of things that we're already working on, we take screen grabs of emails that we've had in the business of that show, and we send it to the person who sent in the concept, so that when they see it on air, they do not say that they sent that idea and therefore it is theirs. And we make sure that the email that we sent to them is of the first email when we had that conversation, so that they can see that this idea that we've been working on long has been living longer than the date and time when they sent the idea to us. So we love having a transparent working relationship with our viewers and the producers who want to work with us to eliminate Moja Love Stole My idea.
I think I'm going to ask you to segue onto a specific question around what, or rather, let me hold that question because I think it's totally, it's not linked to what you are speaking about, but to zoom in. In closing, you've given a full overview of how people can submit both solicited and unsolicited ideas to broadcasters. You've highlighted the importance of knowing what the broadcaster wants and knowing that broadcasters operate in a particular regime where if you submit a concept and they already have that in their kit or in their slate, they will inform you to ensure that they retain whatever intellectual property that they had originally created on there, and you do not have reason to then sue them afterwards. I think that's a very important principle for anyone that wants to submit to broadcasters. In closing, Tate Mandla, what would you say are your final remarks? And I want you to close, Tate Mandla, by saying, Mr. B must come back online now with you and tell the truth about what he sees as opportunities to replicate his success in Botswana in the Northwest Province.
Okay. Thank you, Lebon. I want to just make it very, very clear. I went to in 1990. I don't know. Maybe it was 1995, 96, or something like that. I came to the then MEC of tourism in the Northwest Province. Her name was Edna Molewa, the late Edna Molewa. Get it? Edna, what can we do? Really, this province has so many stories. I would love to see us develop a film commission and all those things because we've got so many stories. Sun City, what more, please. And then I said, either I stay and work on something here or I go and do my master's in cinematography. You know what Aus Edna said? The late Aus Edna said, she said, go and do your master's in cinematography. I actually left Mabopani Kinamete taxi. I boarded a taxi in Harankua to go to Mafike and to go and see her. And the rest, obviously, is history. She went on to become premier, and and where she went. But I went on and left South Africa, took my family, went to California, to Hollywood, to go and do my master's in cinematography. And I owe. I'm saying the story because I owe my success in as far as filmmaking is concerned to those words that came from an inspiring woman here in the province of Northwest.
The
Right?
vision and the political will, my brother, right?
Yeah. She encouraged me to go and do my master's, and I did. And now, okay, I'll park that, and then to ours, Paul, I'm gonna pitch to you in front of everybody. You must always see when an opportunity is in front of you. I think listeners must know that when you see an opportunity, don't wait, pitch it, and go and see what happens. I've got a project called Senwamadi. It's about a vampire in townships, right? And I would like to come and talk to you about it. Sinwamadi ki Setswana. It's a lovely, lovely, very lovely, colorful story, and I would like to talk to you about it. And I think it's something that could be housed in the Northwest Province. And and then if there are any participants online over my meeting, by Lungor would like to be part of this avalanche towards making, realizing it. And no problem. And then lastly, in closing, guys, on Netflix, on a program about Ozark. Ozark is the most successful series going to I don't know how many seasons on Netflix. You know what
Repeat
Ozark
the
is
name of
based
the
on?
title, please.
Ozark. Ozark.
Ozark.
Ozark is based on this family moving out of Chicago into the Midwest Americas and to go and start up casinos, right? And they do anything. They're ruthless. They do anything to be able to realize that. I see Mpo nodding her head. She knows the series. Now, Northwest is the province that gave us Sun City, Platinum, the Royal Bafokeng, and all of that. Imagine, Utsea, a series you house it inside the most successful casino, a resort out of Africa. It's endless. You don't have to call it Sun City, but in that you will tell the story of Boremangope, Popo Molefe, Os Etna, the politics of the place, the politically. And then you tell the common story of the man on the ground who has to put food in their stomach. Adira asebetsa go Sun City, go casino eo. The struggles that they have to go through. But tlola ka mo Pilansberg, ba feta dinoga, di lion, di tla ba loma mara ba nyaka ba dula mo mogwase. I'm just throwing out ideas.
Manda, my brother. I'm going to ask to stop you because we are almost getting to 12 o'clock. But
okay, but I just
we don't need any other evidence. We don't need any other evidence that we've got the power more than anything else. The power dynamics have changed. We started speaking about a broadcaster-centric versus a producer-centric industry. The reality is that is happening, whether you like it or not. As producers, we are engaging like this. We are having these processes. You spoke about negotiating, Mandla. We are negotiating better deals. It's happening. You spoke about the need and the impact of political will and vision, the need for business to partner with us in creating a successful television format. And I think RAPS has worked in advertising in particular, creating short format, spending close to 5 million rand to produce 30 seconds. But at the same time, he's an expert on spending 100,000 rand and creating 90 minutes of content. I'm going to ask us to wrap up this discussion on Raps's practical experience of between himself and Mr. B creating very high quality content at manageable costs, and say, how do we replicate that in the Northwest, and we can close the discussion. Raps?
That's a very tough one, Libone. But like I said, it all comes down to how much passion do you have? Coming from the commercial advertising space, you know, it's tough. The money is there to get your toys and play and finesse and do whatever you need to do. And having to switch back into long form, and you realize that what you spend a minute on a commercial is what you need to spend for a 90-minute. It becomes a very painful transition. But if you're passionate and you know what you're about and what you're trying to set up for yourself, you strap up and you do what you got to do, and you find ways and loopholes to try and get your product out there. It is not easy. It is not as fun as it looks. People, when they see the product on TV, they think, oh, you guys are working so nice. Gumnand ukusebenza TV. Just like any other job, there's no easy job out there. The people that get to enjoy the fruits are the passionate people of what they're doing. You know, I keep saying passionate people don't wait for things to happen to them. They wake up and they do what they need to do. And then the rest of us wait to be paid to do what we need to do. So keep the passion alive. And I think if you are passionate enough, you can conquer anything. Whether you have 50 rands to shoot that film or you get 5 million rands, it will be out there because your passion will lead you.
No, thank you very much, Raps, and thank you very much, Mpo. Thank you very much, Ntate Mandla Dube.
Lubone,
that has just come in. Oh, you want to say something, Mpo?
Yes, my closing comment, which is something that which was also touched on and was quite key. So I work very closely with Bongindaba. She's a multi-award winning head writer for Uzalo, Generations. She's created long form content, and our latest offering will be on
probably the most abused creative in South Africa. Sorry.
Hey.
Go. I love Bongiti passion.
Yeah. And our latest offering with her is premiering the first episode on Sunday 9:30 on Moja Love, Sunday the 6th of September. But what Bunyi and I do, we're passionate about bringing up young people with us and people who want to get into the industry. In the writing room, we always have 2 young people in there and who want to write. So not only are you a writer, but we also look at how passionate you are about the worlds that we're going to go into. We also have people who live the experience of what we're writing for, if they want to be writers in the room with us, and they get their training. And the more they show potential and growth, the more we take them on as we move on to the one project, onto the next, onto the next, onto the next. We do the same thing when we're shooting. We try and see who we can bring up with us, because the one thing that you will notice in terms of the scripted world is that there are now lesser and lesser and lesser script writers. And it's a battle to find great script writers, and that's because we're not training as many as possible. And for us, we train on the go, on the job, just like Julia. And look at Julia's work today, and impressive. Another one is Ntati. The Way Ngakona was another one of our top-rated reality shows. And Ntati, as someone who used to come to the office every day, she did not have a job. There were 6 of us in the team. All of us would give her 50 rands from our pocket every Friday, just so that she can come to the office and she could sit and she could learn and absorb. And just Ntati did not say, I don't have a contract. When we contributed and we discussed concepts, she contributed. She was amazing. She was great, and she was she's the co-creators of Isencane Lengane and The Way Ngakon. So young people, invest in them. When you believe in them, when they show you that they're hungry and there's talent. And I'm going to say this also, saying there are young people who also showed that they were hungry, who we gave an opportunity. And when it comes, Batubanyamal, we can't find them anymore. Or they switch off their phones, they don't submit on time. So it's you take the good with the bad. But you always want to favor the good, and that's seeing talent being developed and young people thriving based on the support and the nurturing that you give to them. Over. Thank you.
I really appreciate that. And between myself and Mandla, I think we've strived to assist, to hand the baton to the next generation. And I think we're ready to do that. In all of our programs and projects, we really try and make sure that the knowledge that we've gained over the last 20 or so years, we share it with the next generation. And on that particular note, I think that the future of the stories of the Northwest province of Bukonebu Pirima rests in the shoulders of that youth, but we have a big role to play. I need to tell the story, but the energy has not been, conducive enough to take us all back to the province to tell those stories. So I thank you all for being part of this panel, and I think we commit to come back to Rustenburg Film Festival next year with minutes of content, high quality minutes of content that have been produced out of this hour and a half that we've spent sharing our passion with the esteemed panelists that I have. And I thank you for this. And I'd like to, then close this session unless there are any other comments from the team.
Sorry, Pralebone. Here is a little comment, just 45 seconds. Please do let me know after this if only one of you maybe can just take this one, just 30 seconds.
Now, the Northwest has a particularly beautiful history of having produced some of the biggest stars and biggest media workers. I'm talking of people from Nothemba Madumo to Tim Modise to you name them. There's a lot in that province which should be tapped on. And the province is steeped in incredible history. Nobody, I'm sure, can dispute the fact that a place like Kaditsweni is a very special place. But I've not seen or heard anybody saying, I'm going to do a documentary for Kaditsweni. And guess what? That documentary I'm going to send to National Geographic, because National Geographic looks for content like that. I'm mentioning National Geographic specifically because we've got to think beyond our borders, beyond the area that we operate in.
What do you think of that statement?
I think it's the most amazing intervention that could have come in at an unexpected time of this discussion. Most importantly, because of, and it is important to say this, of who is making that particular important comment. We don't salute our heroes. Melulama is an icon in South African broadcasting, and I'm pleasantly surprised to hear that question coming from her. But I think she's absolutely correct. We need to look beyond our immediate environment. I'll give a very basic example to Melulama's question. If you look at what is probably the most anticipated television drama series to come out of South Africa in the next couple of months, a series called Blood Psalms by one of the most talented filmmakers in the country, Jamil Kubeka, and his team led by Leila Swar. The story that Jamil is telling is a story that is a global story, a story of international appeal that just so happens to be taking place in South Africa. But his target for telling the story was not as necessarily only a South African audience and a South African broadcaster. So I agree completely with what Melulama is saying about broadening our perspective in terms of the kind of stories that we have and where they could possibly end up. I'll ask the panelists and Mpo to come in on this particular note. What is Moja Love's position on, and I beg you to just go into the detail, the narrative that Melulama, for example, was speaking about versus the very macro narrative that is what makes Moja Love successful. Moja Love is successful because it takes a very micro approach, dealing with micro issues for a micro audience that it knows that it will deliver to, versus creating these stories of an international appeal scale, which I was giving Jamil's work as an example of.
So
sorry, Mpo, before you jump in there, Libone, I'm sure Probi has shared my notes there. I've got a 12 o'clock that I need to jump into.
Okay, sir.
So if you guys don't mind to excuse me so that I can try and get into that.
No, much appreciated, Raps. Thank you very much. I think Mpo's answer is the last answer, and then we are wrapping up, sir.
Okay, cool. Standing by.
Sharp.
So if we look at, I'm going to say something bold and slightly controversial, but if you look at the shared experience with Black people, regardless of continent, regardless of location, we all have the same spinal cord. And by spine, what I mean figuratively is we all have something that holds us together, regardless of where we are in the world. We've got religion, we've got culture, we've got tradition, we've got family. For majority Black people, these are the things that we hold dear to us. Regardless of, well, it veers also depending on income. But majority of the Black people, we have those top four. And earlier on, we had, Pearl had touched on it. And I mean, about how things evolve. But if you hold on to these four, regardless of whatever era or whatever year we're in, and you constantly understand these four and how they change and how they morph, and you're looking at how the viewer therefore relates to. I mean, if you watch when I think it's When They See Us on Netflix, majority Black people across the world related, because we all relate to race. We all have some experience of being looked down of because of our skin color. And the degrees might vary depending on the region. I mean, I think it was early last year or early last year or sometime this year when on Facebook it was trending about modern day slavery in one of the African countries. So when you know how to touch on those wounds for the Black people, do you touch on the wound to make them laugh at themselves? Do you touch on the wound to bring them entertainment? And how the story and the narrative, depending on your region, could be then the only altering thing from Jamaica, America. Funny enough, even Mexico have their content that trends and that does well. They're high rated, touches on these top 4 or 5 properties that I've touched on. The moment you start to break it down and to understand on a cultural basis, on an experience basis for Black people, then you can create your content for a local, but it sells globally. I mean, look at Jerusalem. It was made for a South African listenership, but as of yesterday, they had 113 million streams worldwide. I mean, the famous soccer player who used it at a party. So when you understand and you're true to the feelings and the emotions that are shared according to the people you share the spine with, it's easy for you to create content for your local and for it to grow internationally. Over. You're on mute, Lebone.
Muted. Yeah, I was saying I'm going to really thank you for your passion and for your eloquence in sharing this information that you've shared. Our commitment that we can make to the Rustenburg Film Festival, I think, as practitioners, is to reward the efforts of people like Kia by making sure that the dreams of creating content in the Northwest comes really true, not in the next 10 years, but where you end up with concrete success stories, like Manda's success story. So I think if, excuse me, there's an answer to how you develop a successful television format, there's not one answer. There are a lot of factors, but go and study what Manda Kaise Walter Dube did. Excuse me. And I think that you have practical examples of how to create the next Mandla, how to create the next Mpo as shining lights of the South African film and television industry. So on that note, I throw back to you, Mr. B, and I thank you for allowing us to participate in this session. Thank you very much, good sir.
Thank you very much. Thanks to everybody. Thank you, Lebone, for a wonderful moderation of this session. Thanks to all the panelists for being with us. Truly appreciate. Thank you. It's been amazing. I turned that thing away from me. I don't want to be seen.
Mr. B, Mr. Elzovensberg. Thank you very much.
Thanks, people. Thank you. Thank you so much, guys. Truly appreciate. Thank you. All right. And then for those that are watching from the venue, thank you so much for watching. I think this session has been very, very beneficial to everybody there. Truly appreciate you. I'm going to hand over to Ronnie, who is at the venue and is our MC. But before that, we have an amazing screening tonight. As you've seen, Brahmandla Dube, he is here. He is going to be screening his film Kalushi, and we are going to have a Q&A afterwards. So just make sure that you hang around and enjoy that session. We're going to leave you with the trailer for Kalushi for those that haven't seen it. All right. Thank you so much. Jabba.
Prosecution, please lay the charges against the accused before this court.
2 counts of murder and causing fear and distress in the public domain. My name is Solomon Mahlangu. I live in Mamelodi. C2 Ndebele section.
There's going to be a match on the 16th of June in Soweto. I want you guys to come.
Soweto made us angry. It made me angry. Policemen killing children. What? Afrikaans? We were tired of only having stones to throw while you shoot us with bullets. We were going to fight fire with fire.
Solomon Mklangu and Mondi Motlang have a common purpose. They left the country together. They underwent military training together.
You're not mercenaries, you're freedom fighters. Are we clear?
And together, they terrorized the people of South Africa. They had a common purpose. And that purpose was murder.
Welcome to Pretoria Central Maximum Security Prison. When you leave here, it'll be in a coffin.
There is no punishment that you can lay out in this court. No law, no government can pass that will kill the will of the people. Because we will fight. We will continue to fight until all our people are free.
You know what I mean?
And that's how it ends. That was a beautiful session, Brahman. It was lovely. It was absolutely lovely.
So what is Mojala? What is Mojala?
Mojala, it's a channel. It's a channel on DSTV. You don't know it?
It's on DSTV.
Yeah. Channel 157.
Really?
Yeah.
And who sponsors them? They got an audience, né?
Yeah, they do. Actually, they do. Important, man. Yeah, there you go.
Because what's his name like it, but they're dilly dally. I sent it to Lufuno and them. Her boss, what's her name?